time on a FM station in New York. I bought an hour a week, and I called all my celebrity friends. I mean, Whiting was Margaret Whiting. Margaret Whiting was on my first show. Dick, you're going to be fine. And I said, Margaret, you see this big reel of tape? It was the old tape. We were taping it, just like we're taping it. So anyway, I had all my, the stars of Broadway came and they talked to me. They chatted at restaurants. And the Dick Miller Show was born. And I had many, many shows, 25 years on the air.
Wow.
And that's how I started. And people ask me, how'd you get into radio like you just did? And you know what my answer is? I listened to it while I was growing up, and I swear to you, that's the real answer. I never studied it.
No.
No.
Well, sometimes it's just a gift. You know, sometimes the gift of gab
Yeah.
is something we're either born with or we're not.
Or we're not.
Or we're not.
And you have it, too.
I remember listening to radio from the time I was a little kid, and I would get ready to go to school, and I listened to the DJs, which my dad did not approve of, but I always thought how much fun it would be to be on the radio.
Yes.
So over the years, many, many times I've worked on radio as well as...
And you see, it's not, you know, people who didn't have radio, we didn't have television when I was really young. Mm-hmm. And then television came in, and we were one of the first on the block. You know, that was a big deal, black and white television. Anyway.
I like people that can flash back to... appreciating what they have now because they didn't have it then. We have, you know, I'd be curious to see what the new generation, the current generation, will say when they're 55, 65 years old about, well, we never had blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
But what's that going to be like
Yes,
in 40
they'll be
years?
telling their kids.
We never had a spaceship in the garage. we didn't have a teleportation device down the street where we could you know, go to Mars. I don't know what
we can't even imagine, can we?
No, we really can't.
No, we can't.
Really can't.
Not at all.
You know, I'm going to go back to Broadway again because I just love your Broadway stories. You, at one point, didn't you save a Broadway show for
yes, I did.
Closing on opening night? What was that all about?
On March 6th, 1983, it was a Sunday night. I remember calling Jeffrey Richards, who's actually a very active Broadway producer now, but he was a press agent then. And we had a first night list of critics, and I was on it for years. But then they broke it up. It was first night, second night, and third night. You wouldn't want to be on the third night. But I was on the second night officially at one point because my writing did not have to be aired or in print immediately. So who was on the first night were the critics who were on radio or television, or critics who had to get in the first edition of the New York Times, the News, the Post, all those newspapers. And so I called Jeffrey at about 10 o'clock Sunday morning, and I said, Jeff, I said, it's Dick Miller. I really would appreciate going to the opening tonight of On Your Toes. On Your Toes started in 1936. It was written by Richard Rodgers and Lorenz Hart.
Oh.
No, Lorenz Hart. I had to think because it's usually Oscar Hammerstein.
Right.
And so, and he said, well, you know, I'm sold out. I said, Jeff, Richard Rodgers, before he passed away, gave me one of my biggest compliments of my professional life. And I really, he said, I didn't know it meant that much to you. I'll have a pair of tickets at the box office. So I went and I saw the show, and it was rounding the top for a success, but it was slightly under what I felt would be a hit. So it got mixed reviews the next day. And I'm walking in the office about 8:30 in the morning holding the New York Times and reading it, and my wife Deborah was there in the office already. And I said, darn. She said, what? I said, Frank Rich. Are you listening, Frank? We know Frank Rich. I said, Frank Rich panned On Your Toes, and he knocked the music. How dare he knock Richard Rodgers' music? How could he do that? She said, well, Dick, what are you going to do? I said, well, what can I do? Nothing. She said, you could do a lot. And I went into my office, and I thought, what is she talking about? How can you do a lot? I called up Harvey Sabinson, who passed away and lived in Sarasota until about a year or so ago, and he was a member of the Media Roundtable. And I said, Harvey, I had a direct line to everybody. My extension was 4141. He was like 3789 or something. But everybody had a different extension, and I had the best numbers, 4141. So I said, Harvey, it's Dick. He said, yes, Dick. I said, did you see On Your Toes last night? No, I'm going tomorrow night. I said, I don't think there's going to be a tomorrow night because Frank Rich knocked it, and the Times is the Bible of theater, and you know it's not going to run. I said, can't you do something? He said, what can I do? If all the theater producers went down to 43rd Street and they picketed and they wanted to go against the New York Times critic, they'd probably cut our space down. But you can do something, Dick. I said, what can I do? He said, you write for a magazine and newspapers. You write for a magazine that's passed out on TKTS line. You do something. Well, I called the publisher of that magazine, and I said, Dana, don't run my column. I know you're printing it tomorrow. I'm going to replace it. He says, you can't do that. It's already up. It's been stripped in and everything, and the type has been set. I said, I will pay for the type to be reset. And I had in the magazine, thousands of people read it. It sold out the first week for half-price tickets. And I stood and I reprinted my review, my story, which I actually spent 3 paragraphs against Frank Rich's review. And I asked all my staff to stand in front of the Virginia Theater and hold up these papers and give them out to everybody at the end of the show. Save the show, save the show. And I saved it, and a year and a half later, it closed.
But
and
still, it
ran
ran
for a year and a half. And actually, the producers put me in the playbill. Dick Miller, promotion consultant.
Oh, that's great.
Or production consultant. I don't know. Whatever.
That's great because, a lot of times just one bad review can kill an otherwise
especially
excellent.
In the Times.
Yeah, and maybe that particular reviewer wasn't having a good night. Maybe his stomach hurt. Maybe he hadn't had dinner. Maybe he had a fight with his significant other. One review shouldn't have that much power, but in the past they did. Nowadays,
yes.
with online media and social media and everything else, it's the other side of the coin. It's the other side that's dangerous.
Yes.
That word of mouth and people can destroy something.
Isn't that sad?
It is sad.
It really is. I see restaurants that are good, and one night somebody had a bad meal, and they trash it. I mean, they do things. It's sad because I've been in business, and you don't want to see business people work so hard and then go out of business.
Right. Yeah, the phenomenon is called blowing them up on the internet.
Yes.
You go out and you get all your internet people and all of your social media people and all of whoever they are to pass it along, and before you know it, thousands of people are blowing up a particular aggravation that one person had, and then everybody picked up the chant. It can be really
I know.
Really
Then now they have Nextdoor, which is a chat room for communities, and they ruin people in the community. They take them out online.
Yeah.
It's just horrible.
It's a shame. Yeah, it's a shame that because media is powerful, and new media is especially powerful because it's so instantaneous. And maybe our schools need to start teaching communicative civility again before they start lashing out and trashing somebody. Think twice, right? Think twice about being civil in media.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have to have a media roundtable about that sometime.
Yes.
Civil in media.
Too bad we can't teach the world, isn't it?
It is. And, one of the ways we try to teach without teaching is by example. So I love the fact that media organizations like Media Roundtable and the Broadcasters Club and some of these others are trying to bring in a young generation as well. Get them into the groove, get them to learn from the elders that are retiring or the elders that are no longer active, and bring up that whole new generation.
Oh, we need a new generation.
We do.
Absolutely, because we won't have... The future is in the young people. So.
Right, and they certainly have the technology. So to everybody out there in the sound of our voices, Dick and I both say, tell young people to get active in media on a lot of levels, not just social media chit-chat, but understand media and the power of communication.
Absolutely. You're listening to Jeannie Corcoran and...
Dick Miller right here live on Entertain You. Dick, it's been great having you. Thank you so much for being here. And there's so much more on your resume we could talk about. You'll have to come back another time.
Thank you, Jeannie. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And thanks for resurrecting and keeping the Media Roundtable alive. And let all the people that get involved help you make it grow.
Thank you.
Don't try to do it alone.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And thank you all out there for listening. We'll talk to you next time. Bye for now. I want to thank you for listening. I'm Jeannie Corcoran, your Sarasota County, Florida Film Commissioner. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can go to www.filmsarasota.com, or you can call us toll-free from wherever you are at 888-765-5777, extension 104. We're easy to get a hold of. And we like email. You can email us at info@filmsarasota.com, and we check all of our email. If you don't hear back from us right away, it's not that we haven't gotten it, but we might have a computer glitch. I hate to admit it, but it happens a lot. We've had emails that disappear for a month. We've had phone messages that disappear for 2 months, but they show up eventually. So we will get a hold of you. Or you can get a hold of us, ask us questions, and if we can help you, we will. And if we can't, maybe we can steer you in a good direction to somebody who will help you. And that's it for me. I'm Jeannie Corcoran, and you've been listening to Entertain You on the Radio Ear Network, and this is the Society Bites network of programs. Thanks for listening. Talk to you again soon.